Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 2. First season is over, but thankfully there's 2 more novellas, so more money for me! George R. R. Martin has also given the showrunner Ira Parker 10 to 12 more stories in addition to the original 3. Apparently they won't run out of books like D&D did, and will actually have things planned out far in advance. Due to the show being so faithful to the Hedge Knight as well, we also have a fair idea where things are going to go next. Throughout this video, we'll be breaking down that book and discussing what's going to come around the corner. This is also our last chance to tell you about our Seven Kingdoms inspired shirts on the merch store below, which all come with a discount. The more you get, the more of a discount you get on top, so if you want to pick up one of these behind me or something on the store, best time to do it is now. Anyway, Season 2 will be based around the second novella, The Sworn Sword. It's set about a year and a half after the Hedge Knight, and Egg is starting to be a lot less weedy. We of course ended Season 1 with him heading out with Dunk, which his dad ends up being shocked by. He's really surprised that his son wants to sleep in ditches and work for the lower tier lords, but it really shows Egg's willingness to learn about the people. The Targaryens don't really appear that much in The Sworn Sword, but I do expect that Maekar will be keeping tabs on what the pair are up to, especially as Egg could easily get lost in the Seven Kingdoms.
There are 9 kingdoms, sir.
Alright mate, chill out. Now the first season also introduced characters not mentioned until the second or third novellas. We met Rafe, who was featured in the third and final novel, The Mystery Knight. There it was just a small line about the character, but it got expanded into much more. We also saw Roger's Grave, who was Arlen's nephew. He wasn't discussed until The Sworn Sword, so they've kind of reordered things. With that in mind, I fully expect that we'll be getting more characters introduced early. Considering George has more stories that he's given the creative team, we might even meet some characters that we just have no idea about. Season 1 was also filled with references to the Blackfire Rebellion, which only came into play during the Sworn Sword. This is an extremely important event in the timeline, and it's the reason for the dispute that we'll see in Season 2. Beyond that, it also plays a major part in the third story, so laying the seeds early, I think, is what they're likely going to do. As such, I think we may see Brynden Rivers early. He was one of Egg and the Fort's bastards, and he sided with his brother and King Daeron in the rebellion. If you know the history, then you'll also know he was the Bloodraven. He was shown in a quick vision in House of the Dragon Season 2, as well as the main show. He had a birthmark across his face, and there have been theories that he possessed the fortune teller that we met in episode 3. She was actually played by the actress behind the innkeeper, which does make it seem like it might have been deliberate. And I do wonder if they've already teased him walking out. Now, during the Battle of the Red Grass Field, his elite archers, the Raven's Teeth, killed Daemon Blackfire after Baelor and Maekar penned him in. So he's very, very important in what's already happened, and he's said to have 1001 eyes, as he was the master of whisperers and only had 1 eye. He also quickly put down the second and third Blackfire rebellions. The character isn't well liked by a lot of the small folk either, and he falls out of favour after killing Daemon Blackfire's son Aenys. That's before a great council who've all met to discuss the succession of the Iron Throne. Because of this, when Egg became king, he ended up sending him to the war. He then eventually became known as the Three-Eyed Crow, or the Third-Eyed Raven in the show. So I expect that we'll see him early, especially after being shown in House of the Dragon Season 2. Why though? Well, I have 2 reasons, and one is due to what happens during the time jump, and 2, the Sworn Sword is ripe for the Blackfire flashbacks. As mentioned, Season 2 will most likely take place a year and a half after Season 1. Makes sense as well, as Dexter Sol Ansel, who plays Egg, will no doubt have had a growth spurt. And we don't want what happened to Walt Unlost. Now, with it being a year and a half as well, during this time in between, some fairly big events happen. The Great Spring Sickness sweeps across Westeros, and it leads to countless deaths. This is similar to the Black Death in Europe, which was a devastating plague that swept across the continent. Considering that Game of Thrones is set in a fictional Middle Ages, it does make a lot of sense to include it and basically focus on it in the show. The sickness actually killed Daeron II, as well as the heirs Vaelor and Materys. This led to Aerys taking over as king, and the Bloodraven was made the Hand. This enraged Maekar, who then left King's Landing's court and departed for Summerhall. So I expect that we might get some sort of opening scene at least that explains what happened, especially as a major event such as the death of a king is going down in the realm. And Vaelor died of spring sickness on the way back to his home planet. Now, after visiting Dorne, Dunk and Egg end up in the service of Sir Eustace Osgrey. The way they teased it though, I do wonder if we'll also see some of Dorne as well. In Dawn, the lads accidentally offended Lady Casella Vaith, and in being there, they also avoided the Great Spring Sickness, like those influencers who went to Dubai during lockdown. There better not be any lockdown parties at the Red Keep though, I'll be angry. As well as this, they also met with Egg's brother Eamon. He eventually became the Maester at the Wall, and he's the character that we met in the main series. He gives Egg a horse, which the lad names Maester, which is very, very creative. So along with the Bloodraven, I expect that we might get a hint of Maester Eamon in some sort of prologue or even flashbacks to their time in Dawn. Peter Claffey, who plays Dunk, has hinted that we could see Tanzel again as well. So maybe he will let her know what went on after he punched out Aryan. Now back in Westeros, crops are failing and the small folk are causing trouble as they try and make ends meet and move to where the rain falls. Returning from a supply run, they discover Sebennis in the service of Osgrey. Along with this, they learn a rival house named House Weber has put up a dam that steals water from Osgrey's stream. Sebennis is basically a gigantic dickhead who never hits the thumbs up, and he makes things worse by cutting one of Lady Rohan Weber's workers. We've of course also had several actors cast for Season 2 in unknown roles, and I do have some theories about who could be who. Stephen Hartley is one of them, and he seems like he'd be perfect for the role of Eustace. We also have Mimi Joffrey, who might be playing two roles, which I will discuss when we get to that part. Craig Parkinson has also been cast as well, and I think he would be perfect as Sebennis. Now after the furor at the dam, Osgrey raises a peasants' levy. This is basically an army of peasants from villages that the Lord rules over. These lads aren't utilised that much in the story aside from a training montage, but I do think it's one of the things that the show's probably going to flesh out. One of them actually fought in the Blackfire Rebellion when Osgrey called him up, and I think we might get more of this character exactly like how we did with Raymond. Season 1, of course, also had that scene of Dunk remembering Orlin's story of Pennytree and leaving his own on his makeshift pavilion. So with that in mind, I think you could build out from that plot point and basically show in a superb way how the small folk deal with being sent to war. I know people consider Ed Sheeran's cameo cringe, but that scene is something I think you can take a lot from if you cast the cameo itself to the side.
Why?
Well, it throws the whole perspective of the show and the then ongoing war on its head. Arya rightfully hates the Lannisters, but the soldiers showed her kindness. They just want to go back home, much like I'm sure the boys Osgrey sends to war will want as well. They're also on the losing side, which we'll discuss in just a bit. Over the course of the story though, it's assumed that the people who mentioned the war fought on the right side. So I imagine that Season 2's big reveal or mystery will be that Osgrey is or was a traitor. Kind of like the big reveal that Egg is Aegon. What? I can't believe it. What a crazy twist. What do you mean you didn't figure it out? You are a piece of shit. Now, back on track, and Dunk is sent to speak with House Weber as Osgrey has sworn to never cross into their territory. This brings him into contact with Lady Rohan, who has already been cast with Lucy Boynton taking the role. Many weird lies have been spread about the character, and she's referred to as a Black Widow who killed many husbands and is really, really old. However, turns out she's very, very fit. Instead of killing them, her 4 husbands died of the sickness on Redgrass Field and for various reasons when she was young. Instantly, Dunk is smitten by her and she reveals that Eustace was actually on the side of Daemon Blackfire during the rebellion. Not only that, but the stream that was dammed actually belongs to her. King Darren actually handed Rohan's house the land the stream's on for siding with him during the rebellion. It was a second blow to House Osgrey as his family had actually owned House Weber's castle Coldmoat. But in the end, they lost it for not subscribing and for also defying King Maego I. Daemon Blackfire then promised to return the castle to him if the lords took his side. Now, not only did they lose the war, but all of Osgrey's sons died as well. So yeah, lots of tragedy, lots of Game of Thrones craziness, and which side will Dunk side with, we will have to wait and see. Now, some of Rohan's house staff, I believe, have also been cast as well. Paul Chahidi has joined the show, and he's someone I can see playing Coldmoat's Septon Stefton. Septon. Fucking hell, I've nearly nailed that. That is a tongue twister. Osgrey's daughter was also taken hostage by the crown, similar to Theon Greyjoy. His wife then threw herself off the top of the castle. That kind of takes us back around to how I think Mimi Joffrey will be cast, and I think she could be playing his wife in a flashback. However, she could also be playing the daughter. Flashbacks are of course laced throughout this show, and episode 5 of season 1 had a pretty lengthy origin story for Dunk, so seeing Osgrey's fall from grace would be pretty neat as well. And off the top of my head, is this the only Game of Thrones show that's done like flashback episodes? Leave it in the comments below. I think it might be. I think everything's pretty much either shown in visions or it's handled in chronological order. But yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, and I'm a fraud. Either way, the rebellion and the Battle of Redgrass Field are the connective tissue between all three stories, which is why I can see it being expanded heavily as the show rolls on with more flashbacks. As we are getting 10 to 12 more stories as well, I can see season 1 to 3 kind of being its own trilogy. The Blackfire Rebellion arc or something. The Blackfire trilogy. Black Streets, Black Alright, Black... Yeah. Look, I'll let George come up with that, or HBO, but I've got ideas if you guys want to hit me up. Now, in classic George style, he says he's working on it, and the next story beyond this has been teased for a while, and will feature the lads actually making it to Winterfell, which could then start a new arc. Anyway, back to the Sworn Sword, and not only is Dunk in the service of a trader, but House Osgrey is severely outnumbered as Lady Rohan has trained men and knights. I expect we will see some great scenes with Egg as well, who is obviously Team Darren. We had Egg sing about the hammer and the anvil in season 1, and in the story, Egg almost gets exposed defending the crown and putting down the Blackfires. As for the peasants that Dunk's trained, he also tells them to run, as they will all die should the situation come to a fight. So with everything on the line, Dunk then has to come up with a plan. When they ride out to meet Lady Osgrey, he meets with her in private and shows her the ring that Maker gave him. She agrees not to invade Osgrey's land, and instead they opt for a trial by combat. And I bet Dunk is like,
"You're joking. Not another one?"
My guy can never catch a break. He fights yet another Sir Simp as Rohan chooses Lord Lucas. Through the Sworn Sword, the dude is also constantly scaring off suitors as he wants to marry the lady himself. This is because should she stay unwed, she forfeits her castle to a relative. Dunk then defeats Sir Lucas, but almost drowns and wakes up in Rohan's castle. Once again, poor old Dunk is battered and bruised, and to top things off, Lady Rohan agrees to marry Lord Eustace. So Dunk loses out on the girl, has to do another trial, and basically gets die-harded to'd in the fact that the same shit happens twice. He ends up back on the road, and that's where I think we'll end the season. At the end, the lads then think about going up north and visiting the wall. However, before they arrive, they become involved in a tournament where the Blackfire loyalists are plotting. But that's season 3, and we've got to get through a lot before we get there. Now, for as bad as it sounded, it wasn't all doom and gloom, as during it he managed to gain some confidence. While trying to duck out of Rohan's castle, he was caught by her and the pair end up kissing. I'm really interested to see where they go with it as well, and we also know that HBO are planning to drop seasons of the show annually. Thankfully, season 2 and 3 are being filmed back to back, so I think they're definitely going to end up doing that for at least a couple of years. Anyway, that wraps up the video, and I'd of course love to hear your thoughts on what you think's going to happen and what do you want to see happen. Please drop a like on the video as well, and drop a comment with your thoughts below. If you want to follow us on Instagram as well and keep up to date with what we're doing, then make sure you check us out at Heavy Spoilers. Did you know as well that members of the channel also get early access to videos every single week, and if you click the join button this week, you will get 28 years later the Bone Temple early-ish. And as we went to, guess what mate, we even went to the site where they filmed it, and it was fucking great. I love that place. But yeah, it costs just 99 cents a month. Really makes a massive difference to the channel. Honestly, when I see you guys sign up to it and how many members are doing it, it actually really means a lot. Yeah, and I can't thank you enough, so thank you to everyone who does that. If not though, you enjoy your 99 cents a month, mate. You spend it on something for yourself. And if you want to watch something else, there's a video on screen right now too. So without the way, thank you for watching this one. I've been your host, Paul. You've been the best. I'll see you next time. Take care and peace.